Boom, baby, we're live. Welcome to Tokyo Crypto Show, episode 142. We're talking about monkeypox. Is this going to be another C19 crash? We're talking about the market analysis, and chat Q&A is going to be open to you as well. We got the team here today. Unfortunately, Elias and Alex Chart Guy are not going to be able to be with us today. They are off doing rich white man things. So we're out here, and we're going to be doing our best here. I've been running the webinars for the Masculine Network, so I'm a little underslept myself, but the market never sleeps, and we got the team here. We're going to knock this bad boy out. So, yeah, if you guys take a look at the news we saw last night, they said now, right on time for elections, might I add. But I saw this. The head of the World Health Organization, Theodora, what was that guy's name? I forget his full name. Tedros. I'll take a look here real quick. And he is saying this right here. Take a look at this real quick.
Today, the emergency committee met and advised me that, in its view, the situation constitutes a public health emergency of international concern. I have accepted that advice. The detection and rapid spread of a new clade of MPOX in Eastern DRC, its detection in neighboring countries that had not previously reported MPOX, and the potential for further spread within Africa and beyond is very worrying. In addition to other outbreaks of other clades of MPOX in other parts of Africa, it's clear that a coordinated international response is essential to stop these outbreaks and save lives. Today, the emergency
So that's what they're saying now. So they're already talking about vaccines. They're talking about lockdowns. Right on time for American elections. What do you say? So, speaking of fake and gay, monkeypox is known as the homosexual virus because this had a little outbreak recently. So the whole Democratic Party's in trouble. But yeah, they had an outbreak with this. Apparently, this has a lot to be doing with being transmitted through anal sex. And Pride Month just got done, and now we're seeing a soar in monkeypox. Who knows? But only God knows. So what do you think we got going on here with this? I mean, this just hit the floor 8 hours ago. It seems like 2020 all over again with the election and all this crazy shit going on. The floor is open, guys. Knock it out. Let me know your thoughts.
Well, I think after previous, C19 disaster from the WHO standpoint, that I think that organization has lost a lot of credibility with not only the right, right side of the political fence, even some centrists and some, left side, right? With the whole the death jab, they're not warning people about it. It didn't really work, and the whole 6-foot social distancing was nothing more than just non-scientific guess, right? And the mask policy was drummed up by New York Times journalists and had no scientific backing to it, right? So I don't think people would fall for this again so soon, right? And based on where the economy is around the globe, that I don't think any government can afford to fall for this. Because with the, especially China, Japan, US, Canada, I mean, all these, first world huge consumer economies are having such a hard time with job markets. I mean, my brother just applied for a job in Chicago metro area for a network engineer job because he's an IT guy. and he talked to the director of IT at this potential employer, and he said for one job there were over like 200 applicants applying for this one job. And so, I mean, it's even the IT industry, is kind of laying people off. And I just saw in the news that Cisco Systems is looking to lay 6,000 people off. So I don't think the economy can take another lockdown.
Interesting. Anybody else want to add something to that?
Way too convenient. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, actually, it's even dumber than that because they tried to pull the monkeypox thing. I don't know if it was last year or
It was last year.
But last year?
Yep.
So, yeah, the fact that people might actually believe it again is even dumber now. And they should see the pattern now. I can sort of excuse them for falling for COVID. Okay, it was the first time. Pandemics happen every 100 years. All right. But you got to be really stupid to believe that a second pandemic is going to come just 4 years later, right when Trump is the one to win another election. Like, it's just all way too convenient.
Yeah, and it's so funny because like let's talk about the election real quick. Steve, you want to chime in real quick before I run my mouth?
Oh, sure. My thing on the monkeypox is like you saw the regions he was referencing, the Eastern DRC. That's one of the least interconnected places in the world infrastructure-wise. Like, not many people travel to and from the Congo or its neighboring countries. Like, that's very isolated, relatively speaking. So I don't think anything can spread out from there. Quite frankly, it's so hard to give monkeypox from one person to another. To call this a major pandemic or freak out of it is crazy. 99 times out of 100, a new virus is a nothing burger. Like, look at Ebola. Everybody freaked out over Ebola. It hardly ever escaped West Africa. Like, no, I'm not worried about this at all.
It's the homosexual disease, and Tedros has been seen going to gay bars. You know that he's go to little. You guys, that? Have you heard of that? James, he's been going to gay bars.
I didn't hear.
Yeah, Tedros likes to go to the gay bars because all those politicians are homosexuals. Let's be honest.
Well, obviously, he's not going to the gay bars I go to because I haven't seen him.
Well, let me know. Let me know there. Yeah, it's just it's all just so convenient. But yeah, I was checking all the responses, and I just don't think people are gonna fucking fall for this shit again. And if they do, honestly, I mean, these are the same people who still think Hex is gonna go somewhere. So I mean, there's idiots everywhere, so who knows? But I was gonna add something onto that. Shucks, what was I gonna say? There was something I wanted to say. But yeah, it does seem right in time for the election. Oh yes, it was going to the election, and it's so funny too. Okay, because look, and Adam, actually, I got a test for you right now because Polymarket, that's a crypto betting odds site, right?
Yep.
So Kamala Harris has literally been voted the worst vice president in the history of American politics, and now all of a sudden she's surging in the polls after just doing some rallies that she faked that all these people were there for her. Really, they were there for these musicians that were from the hometowns they're at. And Megan Thee Stallion was at her other rally. I have done a little bit of deep diving, and I want you to verify with us live on the air. It seems that some of the major people betting on Kamala have heavier bags on Polymarket, and their names are like anti-MAGA. And it's pretty dead giveaway, because the polls are just saying that she's gonna win. And I'm from Florida, and they're saying that she's gonna win in Florida, and everybody in Florida hates fucking Democrats, except for all the illegal immigrants in Miami, like all the dumb Venezuelans, the dumb Spanish people that are there illegally. They hate Trump because oh no, he's gonna deport us. Sorry, gotta go. We can't do this. But that being said, I just see all these polls coming out trying to manipulate. And then I see people saying oh, Trump's campaign is stale and, we need Trump to do this. And these are the same people that believed stupid polls that said Trump had a 1% chance of winning via the New York. I'll never forget that. The New York Times Post, when I saw this in 2016, when I was out on Florida in America in 2016 in Florida, I saw this thing said Trump had a 1% chance of winning. But it seems like, it's crazy because it said because if you look at this polls too, people are too stupid to look at the polling data. I saw some recent polling data. They're like, Trump is ahead in Florida. I was like, okay, great. Let's do what most people don't do. Let's actually do a little research. Let's do work beyond reading something on TikTok for 5 seconds. And I shared it on my amazingly huge Twitter. Follow me on Twitter, MLD Motivation, for all of the wisdom in the world. This one here, Newsweek, Trump might lose Florida as new poll shows Kamala Harris closing in Newsweek. And then from the direct article, some 1,055 registered voters were questioned. And I was like, okay, is everybody just a complete fucking moron? This is what you're going to base the entire state of Florida off of 1,000 people that you absolutely cherry picked? Because you can find miserable white women anywhere in America. And those are the source of all economic problems. The source of everything bad traces back to liberal white women who have no babies and have been ran through more than fucking the dudes that have monkeypox. So I just think that it's all fake, it's all gay, and they're just desperate. They really are just so desperate. Did you guys listen to Elon Musk talk to Trump on the fucking the Twitter Spaces?
I did.
Yeah. James, did you check it out in between your gay bars and whatever fucking debauchery you get down in there?
Every day by thousands. I just tell them I'm researching for monkeypox. They let me in for free.
Did you check out that the spaces between Trump and Elon?
No, I read some highlights online, but I haven't listened to the whole thing.
Yeah, so it got 1 billion views, dude. 1 billion.
Yeah, I read that. Yep.
That's insane. Nobody.
Yeah.
You couldn't pay 1 billion people to fucking listen to Kamala Harris cackle her way through anything.
Well, one of the things that now even the media, mainstream media, is kind of taking note is that she is not giving any interviews.
Oh, really?
She's not answering any questions. She's not giving any interviews. They're kind of hiding her,
like they did with Biden.
Yep.
Yeah. So now the media is like, we kind of need to know what your policies are going to be, what your platforms are going to be, what's your focus, right? Is it economy? Is it the immigration? What is it? The far left rights, whatever. But she hasn't said anything. Only thing she said was that even when she voted for taxing the tip when she was a VP, now she did a 180 after she saw how Trump's, policy saying that he's not going to tax the tips anymore was very popular with the working class people. So she did 180 on that policy and copycat that, a proposal of not tipping or not taxing the tips, even though when she was a VP or a senator, she actually voted for taxing the tips.
And she also,
IRS, they expanded IRS, whatever the regulation.
80,000 more people. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that being VP, they expanded the IRS by 80,000 people, and she has no policies. I think I mentioned it last week, and now she's starting to try to copy some of Trump's policies because that's the only thing she can do. Some of the news media actually seem like they want to criticize her, but they're like holding back because everyone wants to be the one to get the chance to interview her because she's doing no interviews. So whoever gets to interview her first will probably be the only one to actually do so.
I want to see her get interviewed by a black person. So she'd be like, "Oh, hey y'all, I'll be black, y'all."
Yeah. People have noticing they instead of Kamala, they start calling her Chameleon, right? Because when she was running for DA and senator in California, she was courting the Southeast Asian community, the Indians, Malaysians, Filipinos, whatever, right? Pakistanis. And now she got this southern drawl, African American accent that when she was in Atlanta. So which kind of what Hillary did, right? Mm-hmm. So they're saying that mean, are you Indian? Are you black? And now saying that she's black. So now the Indian community is angry with her because you used us to get elected into Senate, and now you're kind of abandoning us, right?
Yeah. Speaking of which, let me play that. And Adam, let me know when you got that data on the poly market if you can find that.
Oh, I found the picture.
Okay, 1 second here. Take a look. This is Kamala Harris, who was born in California to Jamaican and Indian college professors, talking to drag queens in Los Angeles a week ago, and then black people in Atlanta tonight. This is on the 31st of July.
We are all in this together.
Can you hear this?
Yep.
And all these people have monkeypox. Anyways, here.
We are all in this together, and your vote is your power. So please make sure your voice is heard this November and register to vote at vote.gov.
Can I get an amen?
Amen. Now on with the show.
And remember, you better vote.
Oh, Shaniqua, we better vote.
And you all helped us win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. So let's get.
Oh God, she's just disgusts me. I'm just so disgusted by her. Such a chameleon. And then Trump talked about this. Don Stradamus predicted this, talking about how they're going to do another fake pandemic, and here he is talking about it. Here,
the left-wing lunatics are trying very hard to bring back COVID lockdowns and mandates with all of their sudden fear-mongering about the new variants that are coming. Gee whiz, you know what else is coming? An election. They want to restart the COVID hysteria so they can justify more lockdowns, more censorship, more illegal drop boxes, more mail-in ballots, and trillions of dollars in payoffs to their political allies heading into the 2024 election. Does that sound familiar? These are bad people. These are sick people we're dealing with. But to every COVID tyrant who wants to take away our freedom, hear these words: we will not comply. So don't even think about it. We will not shut down our schools. We will not accept your lockdowns. We will not abide by your mask mandates. And we will not tolerate your vaccine mandates. 2020 election, and now they're trying to do the same thing all over again by rigging the most important election in the history of our country, the 2024 election, even if it means trying to bring back COVID. But they will fail because we will not let it happen. When I'm back in the White House, I will use every available authority to cut federal funding to any school, college, airline, or public transportation system that imposes a mask mandate or a vaccine mandate. Thank you very much.
oh boy, Don Stradamus strikes again. So, Adam,
Yep.
poly market.
I-
Let's talk about that real quick.
1 sec.
I got some more footage of the Democrats just eating each other because it's just great.
Okay, you can see it?
There you go.
So yesterday, the Poly Market account tweeted that according to the betting odds, Kamala Harris has a 77% chance of winning with a total of $7 million bet in favor of her, I guess. Oh, no. Sorry. The total bet is $90 million. This is the payout. So when you look at who holds most shares or who would get paid more if she actually wins, the names of the accounts are anti-Trump names like anti-MAGA or 50 Pence. So what I think about this is that a lot of crypto native people or whales are usually Silicon Valley people, and that is California mainly. So it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of those left-wing engineers or whatever, or actually VCs as well, are the ones with those bags, and thus they're trying to get more money voting by what they believe in. I tend to side more with betting markets compared to polls, because polls can be manipulated. At least with betting market, people have to actually put money down to try to manipulate the data if that's what they wanted to. So if what they want to do is make crypto people believe that Kamala's gonna win, then they're betting a lot of money just to make sure that happens.
Well, I thought Kamala took over Biden's war chest, and she was able to raise another 100 million on top of it. So I don't think 9 million would be that amount of, huge amount for them to spend on this, right? Again, I think at this point we have to assume everything is manipulated, right? And we got to assume what isn't. Is I think only thing we can really count on is what we can physically see with our eyeballs. And I'm not talking about something we can see on the screen, something we can see in real world, like going to rallies or going to, whatever these debates and stuff, and, trust the words and the observation of that people we trust. I think that those are two things that I think you can kind of put a lot of trust in. But everything else, especially we see on the screen, I think we should assume that it's being manipulated somehow, somewhere.
Yeah.
And from a couple of months ago too, they said that the Democratic Party internally is just a mess. Which leads me to my next. Did you want to add something, Adam?
Just a quick explainer for those who don't know how betting works in these markets. So essentially, there's the shares that you buy are priced from $0 to $1, and the more likely a person is to win, for example, Kamala has a 76% chance, then each share is worth $77. So if you win by buying this, you're only earning 22 cents per dollar you spend, compared to like Trump, whose shares are 21 cents. So if you bet on Trump now, let's say you buy 100 shares at 21 cents, you're gonna earn 80 cents per dollar you spend. So like $100, you're gonna bet.
Get out the calculator.
So if you bet $100, you're gonna make $80 out of those $100. While with Kamala, you will only make like $20 because the odds are in her favor right now.
Well, we're going to see what happens. Take a look at this. This is something else I saw because I talk about the Democratic Party just eating themselves alive. Breaking ups as pro-Palestine protesters storm Democratic after-party event, throw smoke bombs during Kamala Harris campaign. I just love watching the fucking animals destroy each other. I just love this guy right here. Look at this fucking guy, this white guy who striked out with all the white bitches. He's dipping in the chocolate now. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I don't support Israel fucking just killing everybody in the Middle East since 1950 something. It's just been going on. Like, I feel like eventually they're just gonna, I mean, if you go around making enemies with everybody, that's especially, it's gonna backfire on you. So they even excuse me, they even interrupted her rally the other day. They were like cheering and getting angry with Kamala, and she was just like freaking out at one point. So very interesting overall to see these things here. So let's take a shift now and talk about a couple things. Oh, actually, we just got some breaking news here. Looks like Chuck Schumer just came out defending Kamala Harris and the crypto policy. Let's take a look at this real quick. Should be interesting. Chuck Schumer, obviously a very reliable individual.
So it's great to be here for everybody with so many leaders in crypto. And I appreciate this great invitation. First, let me thank Mark, not only for his introduction, but as I said, for doing so many good things in so many good areas. This guy cares about things, and he calls me up about them all the time. Make this part of the world better, that part of the world better, etc. I also want to thank Sheila Warren and all of you for being here. Now, there's great enthusiasm for the Harris wall ticket from every corner of our country. You can feel it, you can see it, you can smell it. It's gotten Democrats and Americans as a whole who are worried about the advent of Donald Trump so excited. And why are we here today? Because we all support Vice President Kamala Harris to be our next president, and we all believe in the future of crypto, as Mark outlined. I believe in my bones that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz will win this election. They'll lead Democrats to the majority, we'll keep the majority in the Senate, we'll get the majority in the House, and then there ain't nothing stopping us. Now, being here with you today is very important, and that's why I made time on my schedule here. Crypto's been around, of course, for over a decade. It's grown more influential than anyone could have anticipated years ago. Each and every day, as Mark said, it's not an elite thing. An estimated 20% of Americans use these assets, and this will only grow in size and scale. I believe that Congress has a responsibility to provide common sense and sound regulation on crypto, and we need your support to make sure that any proposal is bipartisan. That's the only way we get things done. Ultimately, my goal when it comes to crypto regulation is this. I want to bring members on both sides of the aisle here in the Senate together, create momentum so we can pass sensible legislation that helps the United States maintain its status as the most innovative country in the world. My goal is to get something passed out of the Senate and into law by the end of the year, and I believe we can make that happen. I think we should strike a balance for crypto between promoting innovation and providing common sense guardrails.
It's funny. That's exactly what Trump said when he spoke at the Bitcoin conference, and he says that America should lead. It's just like you said earlier, James. They're just they're copying everything that Trump puts out.
Yeah, but this kind of is good news for the crypto community, right? Before this 2024 election cycle, the Democrat Party was very anti-crypto, led by Elizabeth Warren, the Queen Karen herself, right? But now they saw the pool and the voting base of crypto community, and now they're pivoting. So what I'm saying is that, I mean, I guess either candidate wins, they have to kind of follow through on these pro-crypto policies they're kind of pushing forward. If Harris' campaign pivots and kind of copycats Trump's crypto, or, they kind of put down similar platform for the crypto, it's good for the community either way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the more regulation means more, Joe average boomer money. Because right now, even though, with the ETF and whatnot, crypto community is becoming more mainstream, it's still Wild Wild West out there. That rugging happens every day. There's some shitcoin being launched every 10 seconds, right? So that scares a lot of the boomers away and the boomer money away from crypto community. But having more regulation and having government oversight might not be good for the degens, but it's good for the community where that it's going to bring in more boomer money.
Yeah, definitely. It's just funny to see them just like, I don't know. Like, I just think that they're in panic mode, man. I really feel like they're in full blown.
They are, because one of the things I read was that if you think about it, the Democrat Party of our childhood, I'm kind of older, of 80s and 90s, Bill Clinton years, it's not the Democratic Party of today, right? The Democratic Party of Bill Clinton years was more blue-collar, working class, maybe for a little bit more pro-immigration, but still, they were center-left, right? Versus center-right of the Republican Party Reagan years. But now the current Democratic Party is far left, where they brought in these bunch of fringe elements, right? The alphabet community, the illegal immigrants, that all these fringe elements, antifas. So now they're putting all these fringe elements with a conflicting interest under one tentpole and trying to guide them. So when you set a policy good for one group, it's going to offend somebody else in that group, right? Because you're dealing with the multiple identities and multiple, motivation inside of one group, one huge group, right? You got all these conflicting segments inside of one large group. So when, like, for instance, if you go pro crypto, that's going to offend whoever was funding Elizabeth Warren and her motivation towards crypto, which will be probably big banks, right? Unless big banks start pivoting towards more pro crypto, And just like with the whole thing with the pro Israel and Palestine, thing, where a lot of liberal Jewish people were pro Democratic Party, but now they're kind of stepping away from it because with all these protests about the Gaza that's going on, right? And especially younger generation at the colleges. So they're kind of in a tough spot where if they're firm on one policy, it's going to offend a bunch of people in the party, right? So I don't know how they're going to manage this. I think only thing they can unite under is the hate and fear of Trump and the MAGA and the far right, right? And that's their the policy, which is pretty much non-policy.
Yeah, it does seems like the Democratic Party of old has now become like the corporate party, the corporate.
Yeah. So and
party.
I think Kamala's kind of seeing that, or her campaign is kind of seeing that. So they're trying to kind of pivot more towards the center, and that's going to upset a lot of the fringe elements they brought in since the Obama years, right? And that's going to create internal rifts in the Democratic Party. And I don't know if they can, keep everybody in line like they did with a whole Bernie Bros. Remember Bernie Bros?
Mm-hmm.
How they hated it, Hillary and whatnot and Biden, and how they were able to, bargain with them and bring them into the fold. I don't know if that's possible under Harris.
Yeah, man, there's a lot going on. We are going to jump into some of the meat of the show real quick. Infinite Oneness, $2 super chat says, why is Aave going up when other going down? Well, I mean,
I responded already in the chat. I don't know if you saw it. Basically, during the last 3 days, Aave went up like 10-12%. The entire market was going up in the last couple of days, and now that Bitcoin started to crash a bit, Aave is on a red candle. I mean, they just started, but it just hasn't reacted as much as Bitcoin itself. It's either lagging a bit behind or just holding up well for some reason. It's nothing out of the ordinary.
Yeah, this is the price. This is the monthly chart here. So I don't know. You're saying it's up. It's $20 right now.
No, Aave, not AVAX.
Oh, sorry, Jesus Christ. I pulled it wrong. Sorry. Give me 1 second. People still buy Aave?
Apparently.
Take a look
I got
here.
burned with that last week.
I hope you're not listening to the two monkeypox supporters, Charlie and Miguel, because those guys they're gonna monkeypox your portfolio. Yeah, I see. It's got a little bit of recovery right now. But I mean, yeah, if you just look at the 10, I mean, if you look on the 10-day, on the 7-day, yeah, the 7-day looks like it's up a little bit, from 14th.
It broke out, huh?
A little bit.
Yeah.
It broke out like monkeypox.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just zoom out, it's all.
Oh, okay. Still kind of long term. It's at the top of the range. Okay.
Not that great. So let's jump into the meat of today's show. Let's talk with the net general market analysis. Steve, you're the stock market analysis. You want to just give us an overall perspective that you have of the what's going on right now?
Sure. Right now, the stock market seems to not be able to make up its mind as to whether or not we're facing a recession or not. There was some bad numbers that came out in July. However, that has to be tapered with the fact that Hurricane Beryl ran through Texas and there were layoffs caused by that and people not being able to go to work because of that. The other thing that came in weak in that month was the manufacturing index. So pretty much how much stuff is being created throughout the United States that contracted considerably. However, what that does also need to be tapered in with the fact that July is usually, in that period that was being measured, is usually the auto industry's weakest month. That tends to be when they pull back their production. That tends to be when they consider releasing new models or getting rid of some of their old models. If they're going to lay off somebody, that tends to be their month of choice. So there was some of the weakest auto activity we saw ever. However, compared against the months before it, it was particularly weak. But there was a lot of economists that have come out recently saying that no, that 1 month was probably an off month. We can expect stronger numbers as we move forward. Inflation came in beneath expectations, to give one example. It came in, even though the market was pricing in for considerable deflation, things actually deflated even further than was expected. So that's going to help the probability for interest rate cuts. The fear surrounding a re-kick up in inflation can be pretty handily patted against as a result of that. There's still a few bearish indicators lying around for certain. The inverted yield curve continues to go on. However, the inverted yield curve is always a reaction to the expectation of falling interest rates. So that doesn't, make me feel excessively bearish. If I'm going to give one final piece of good news, because the outlook hasn't changed too much from last week, the VIX is down considerably. So that means that market volatility is down considerably. And the less volatility there is, that generally means the better price activity we're going to see. And not to mention the yen carry trade has also calmed down considerably. The yen has stopped its strengthening activity. So this activity of investors selling their yen positions to get rid of their losses as they now have to pay for it, that's now stopped. So this constant sell-off caused by the Bank of Japan is mostly over, but not completely over. That's really all I have to say, though, for today.
Yeah, I read that somewhere that the yen carry trades have been unwound about 75 to 80%.
Yeah.
So there's still a little bit left, but majority they have those positions have been unwound.
Yeah. And then I think it was yesterday, Prime Minister Kishida announced that he's going to step down. So I think that is potentially could be linked to the whole world being like, what the fuck, Japan? Like, what the fuck did you do?
What's the sentiment over there in Tokyo?
I think Japanese hate the government now more than they've ever done at any point in the history of the country. And now also interesting stat. This is the first time in history where the most Japanese are living outside Japan, because the tax situation here is just insane. It is insane. Anti-foreigner sentiment is growing. Japan has always been a right-wing country, but now they're like marching in the streets, like, keep these brown motherfuckers out of here. Like they're literally marching in the streets against immigration and foreigners. And you could just tell people are just a little bit more on edge because things are a little bit tighter around here economically. For the Japanese girls or for the Japanese people, and then I'm catching more looks in the street. It's could be because I just lost a bunch of weight or I look good, but I also feel like to a degree it's like, that guy he may make some dollars. So I went on a date with a girl in Q1 this year. She's a real smoke show. She's Miss Best Body Japan, and on the first date she asked me if I got paid in dollars. So I hit that.
Oh, wow.
So
the exchange rate arbitrage, yeah?
Yeah. I gave her some exchange rate, but
it's tough, right? Because the birth rate in Japan is well below the replacement rate, right?
Yeah.
And I guess the growth of GDP is a function of a few things. Is a function of one would be, a growth of productivity, which it's been stagnant for a while in the West or the first world country, and growth of population, which is well below, right? And only way they can grow the economy is just dumping a bunch of money in, and it's not working, right? They just cannot overcome that, population decline factor, and because of dumping all that money in, the yen's getting weaker and weaker and weaker, as we know. And they don't know what else to do because they can bring in any immigration. And they said it takes, I guess, 3 generations of immigrants before they have to replace with another shot of immigration, because first couple of generations, they have more than 2 kids. And by the 3rd generation, where they're kind of moving up in the social economic ladder, that they're at that point, oh, we don't want any kids, right? So there has to be constant inflow of immigration every couple of generations if the natives start not having kids. So it's tough.
Every time I get a stank eye from a Japanese dude for being a foreigner, I'm just like, well, maybe you should have had some more kids instead of going to the fucking
$1 bills, yo.
Sorry, but that's where we are. So let's talk about Bitcoin. We're going to talk about Bitcoin, the strength of Bitcoin, what's going on right now. I think it's the most qualified person on the panel to talk about that right now is James. That's you. And then Adam, I think if you want to pull up some pull up some charts, whatever, right after that. But James, you just want to take the floor?
Yeah. So what I'm kind of seeing with the Bitcoin is that the price is kind of coiling, right? So we have been in this about $72 to, let's call it a $55 range, $55,000 range, $72,000 to $55,000 range. I mean, it did step out with a long, tail down to like 48 last week, but we've been in that, little price range since let's say end of February, beginning of March. So what I'm continuing to seeing is that Bitcoin still has not made up its mind. If it wants to go down or go up from this range, right? So when you're seeing this kind of price range action, sideways movement, what it's telling me is that there are people changing hands. Bitcoin is changing hands. People are buying and people are selling, and neither the buyer or the seller can overcome each other, right? So the market has not made up its mind where it wants to go. So I kind of saying that this would probably continue until maybe September, October, around right before election, and hopefully we'll see a breakout to upside at that point and still continue to go up from there. But our macro thesis of this market cycle top being late 2025 have not changed.
Interesting. Good to go. Adam?
One sec. Let me share the screen.
And feel free to bring the unofficial mascot of the Tokyo Crypto Show Season 2 on the screen anytime you're ready.
All right.
I'll
show her in a bit.
All right. Go ahead. You got the full screen.
Okay. So last week we were around this fall, if I'm not mistaken. We were at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So we bounced back from that crash, and I was looking to see if we could perhaps recover maybe a bit aggressively into mid-August to turn this cycle back into a bullish one. Given that that doesn't seem to be the case currently, I preemptively called the top on day 23. Mm-hmm. So this being a shorter cycle, I expect it to end around August 20th. Around August 20th. So it would be, one second. Okay, so August 20th would be around 45 days, which is usually the amount of days that a left translate cycle tends to have. And you might remember that I expected a new bottom to be formed later on because this first one was on day 30 exactly, and that was way too early to be the cycle bottom. And I was looking to see if we would break this 58,000 area to go back into 54,000, and that seems to be the case so far. I mean, this last candle started like 2 hours ago, so it's too early to tell. But if it closes below this line, basically, I wouldn't be surprised if we go and visit 54,000 again and make a new bottom. Maybe not past this week from here at 49K, but potentially like go below the body of this candle. So anything below 44,000 would be fair game, and I would call that this cycle's bottom. And other than that, I'm mostly in line with what James said. I expect August and September to be boring, like it's always been for Bitcoin. And around the October surprise, that's when I expect to start seeing some upward movement. So if we end the cycle on August 20th, the next cycle would potentially go up until October 20th, assuming it's a more inline one, maybe chopping maybe a bit upward. But from October 20 onwards, that's when I expect the mania to start, or at least to start showing signs of it, especially if we get a positive result in the elections.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the weekly chart, Adam, and I'm looking at the MACD projection.
Do you want to share, James?
Yeah, okay, hold on.
Sure.
Let me see if I can share screen. Let me see here.
The official mascot is here, by the way. She just changed sites today.
What's her name?
She's called Fiora.
Fiora, cutie.
Can you guys see?
Yep, there we go, James.
Bitcoin, right?
Yep.
So I'm looking at the weekly chart here, Bitcoin, Binance, Bitcoin price. So as I was talking about, like 72 to 55 is my price range. Then it seemed to be coiling, right? Lower highs, higher lows. Then if you're looking at the MACD, we peaked right at April time frame. Then we kind of went into almost a correction zone, right? Or what you call it in trading, duration. Duration is where price has not made up its mind, so it's usually going to sideways or in a correction mode. So as you can see from here, we've been in a duration since, let's call it, late April, as you can see, right?
Mm-hmm.
And typically when the durations end is when the MACD gets close to zero, as you saw here in the beginning of October last year, here during this breakout, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were in a duration from around end of May last year until October last year. Then we broke out. Then after that, I guess enough changing of hands happened, and the market made up its mind and say, "Hey, let's move up." So we've been in uptrend until end of April this year. Then we went back into the duration, and we're still not close to zero yet. I think we still got more sideways action, and let's just say this kind of continues its trend. Right? And you can see it's somewhere in October.
Interesting. If you could share that on a different screen next time, because the vertical one's kind of hard to read.
Oh, okay. Yep.
You're good. And then just so you guys know, we kind of predicted this, as you know, going back to this chart that we shared earlier in the show. this is the historical percentage gain per month via Bitcoin. As you can see, though, August has traditionally for the last 2 years been pretty bad. Minus 14% 2022, minus 13% 2023. We don't have the final numbers right now, but August is typically not a good month. September and October are. So that's what we're just kind of looking at right now. Kind of ties into the whole sell in May and go away for the finance pros as well. So Bitcoin has endured a lot. I got to say, man, it was like in April, you know, the Israel and Iran, or it was Israel and Hezbollah killing each other. And then, you know, the whole
Russia and Ukraine thing still going on.
Russia and Ukraine thing, German government, Mount Gox. I mean, it seems to me they're hitting this motherfucker with everything, and it's just still giving people. It's still not dying, you know. So, I just think that moving forward, just doesn't seem like anything is going to be. I think it's just, unfortunately, it's just a game of waiting. Bob Lucas put out something on his Twitter, which is also very valuable. You should follow this guy; he's really smart. I'll just read it out for you guys at home. He says, my honest thoughts of Bitcoin. Honest truth for the intermediate term, really murky for me. Don't have a good read. And that's for the intermediate term. I see forces pulling from all directions, so limited trades and happy spot holder. I did recently add some more spot. I mostly feel Bitcoin got flushed out recently and continued to be in a massive accumulation zone, but certainly don't expect anything until mid-September at earliest, just like what James is saying. Something I've discussed a few times, range bound. Bulls, however, might need to wait through until December, weekly low, cycle low, and a 9-month range. That's a possibility. See the chart. Is there a third option for yet more lows? There's always room to be surprised, and spot holders would be severely tested. As deeper lows, the entire bull market narrative would be questioned, and unfortunately, by then, probably far too late to want to take action. So, the joys of investing. But overall, I see no reason to doubt the 4-year cycle high is still ahead in mid to late 2025 at a 6-digit print, just like James is saying. So that keeps me sane and don't care about the election. If you're patient and believer, then it's just your battle with time. And this is what he has right here. We have a capitulation trap here. And then these are the projected outcomes he has, little balance here. And then looking like around November, right around election time, he has 2 potential outcomes, but both of them are heading upwards. Bob Lucas is a veteran trader, multimillionaire. Since he's been talking about the 4-year cycle and so many things that are, in my opinion, pretty bullish too. Like, I guess, you know, it's just this game of impatience because there's so much uncertainty. You have inflation, you have the recession fears, you have all this nonsense, the war, big tech, now we got monkeypox. It's just like they're just bombarding us with thing after thing after thing. I feel like the news cycle this year has just been insane, quite frankly, man, just insane. So, but ultimately, I don't think we're in too much of a negative position to be freaking out right now. You guys see any freaking out?
Can I share something real quick?
Yes.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm uploading the slides.
I'm not concerned about the election that much. Like, I think it's either gonna go up or really up, depending on who wins. Like, thinking back to 2020, Biden won, and we still got a pretty good boot cycle. I know people would be more scared if it's 4 more years of that, but at the same time, the price is not that dependent on news. It's actually, they just tend to coincide with liquidity cycles for some reason. Like, whenever there's a big move coming based on the data, something tends to happen in the real world and people tend to correlate them, but it doesn't mean that it caused it. It was just happened by coincidence all the time for some reason.
Can you guys see the screen or the slides?
Yeah, right here. The global liquidity index is down big there.
So this kind of went back to what we were talking about, the cycles last show, right? We are still following this global liquidity cycle. You know, the money in the global financial system. The money has to find home somewhere because, as you know, because of inflation and the money printing, the value of the money loses as the time goes by, right? So we're still at the bottom, and let's just kind of go to the next slide here. Look at this. This is a global liquidity index, which is how much money in the system between 1990 to 2023. It kind of coincides with pretty much all the market top. Do you see a 2014, 2017, 2020 Bitcoin top, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the bottoms, 3 bottoms, corresponding bottoms,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this is a zoom in to the Bitcoin, just the Bitcoin segment here from 2014. As you can see, the global microdata index in the white and the Bitcoin price in orange pretty much correlated. Do you guys see it?
Mm-hmm.
So since we're at the bottom of the cycle for global liquidity and it's on its way up, I mean, our macro thesis holds as for now. And you know for a fact that the Fed just started their treasury purchasing program, trying to pump in $50 billion this month, right? So, I mean, the everything, all the pieces are there. I think it's just that, like what Bob Lucas was saying, with all the external events that's out of our control, that the market cannot make up its mind. It's a bit spooked, right? Mm-hmm. So at this point, I think it's more of a if you can catch the bottom, it's more of a buying opportunity before the next, leg up more than anything.
Hmm.
Speaking of Africa and monkeypox, so I go over this one. This one's kind of cool. Remember Chuck Schumer said crypto has been around with us for over a decade? Mm-hmm. So kind of did some research on it. So what really happened is that, one of the inspiration, I think Satoshi was this thing. Do you guys remember this?
Mm-hmm.
Remember the old Nokia cell phones?
Oh, yeah.
That kind of started the whole thing. It's crazy. So I did some research on it. So what happened was in early 2000s with the global, financial crisis, banking system was in shambles, right? But in Africa, especially Kenya, there was really no banking system to begin with, right? And the other thing was that because that region is so unstable due to the armed conflict and governments, had a huge inflation rate that was out of control. So you can buy a loaf of bread for, let's say, 100, whatever let's call it, 100 Kenya dollars. Then you go to the same store to buy the same loaf of bread in the evening. It could be 200 Kenya dollars on the same day, right? So the people figured out that, hey, we cannot trust the government money. So we need to come up with an alternative system to borrow and exchange values. So what people figured out was that, well, there was no banks in Kenya. If there were, it was only in the capital. And nobody trusted cash because of the issue with inflation. So what they say was that, hey, what does everybody have? Everybody had one of these Nokia phones, right? And what they had was that, hey, I can load my Nokia phone with the prepaid minutes. Then there was a protocol to send the prepaid minutes back and forth to different numbers. So they said, aha, let's price everything in minutes, right? Mm-hmm. So they came up with this digital currency called the M-Pesa, or prepaid minute units, right? So let's say you go to a barber, say, hey, I want to get a haircut. He'll say, oh, okay, it's 5 minutes. And you will send the barber 5 minutes after you got done with a haircut. Then the barber would take his minutes and go to a market and get a couple of fish for dinner. Say, hey, how much for the fish? Oh, it'll be 3 minutes. Then barber would use his phone and send 3 minutes to the fish market or fish store owner's phone. So it went back and forth, And as you can see here, it's pretty much a peer-to-peer payment system that was based on prepaid minutes. And there were 85,000 agents across Kenya, which almost worked like a human ATM, where you can convert the minutes to whatever the currency they were using at the time. And like pharmacy would send you either sell you the minutes or exchange your fiat to minutes, or you can change your minutes to fiat if you need a fiat, right? So, and there were 85,000 of these people, so there was really no need for ATM or banks. And it's a one example of human ingenuity and adaptability at work here. I mean, Africa, right? At least some place that you think of innovation in financial technology, came up with this system of using prepaid minutes as a form of currency instead of highly unstable fiat currency. So that was kind of beginning of a digital payment and crypto.
Very interesting to see, and it's just, I mean, with the situation with the fiat money system, I mean, it's just, you know, if they do push this pandemic, it's only going to be because they just need another to print a bunch of money. Because I think that's partially why they did the previous pandemic, was like, you know, it was multiple birds with one stone. Like, you know,
right.
Get draconian lockdowns, and then you know, get Trump out of office, make a bunch of money with the vaccines, and then on top of that, you know, identify dissenters and keep the fucking Ponzi scheme going. That is the whole fiat currency system. So we're gonna see what happens here. The sentiment is rocky right now, not gonna lie, but there's no reason for you guys to be afraid at home, freaking out. No, not necessary whatsoever. We're gonna be with you here every step of the way on the Tokyo Crypto Show. That's gonna do it for us here today, guys. So we appreciate you here watching it. We'll be back next week as usual. Keep an eye on the market, stay informed, and we'll be posting updates. Follow me on Instagram, Hot Dude Life, or Interview with a Man, or on X, MLD Motivation. Until then, we'll see you guys next week. Peace.